Should antitrust prohibit unilateral restraints when the firm is not dominant? My answer is no, at least not as a matter of antitrust policy. This is a view grounded in law and economics. The basic idea is simple. State intervention in the economy is justified when it corrects a market failure. In competition law, the central failure is monopoly power. That is also broadly consistent with Colombian constitutional doctrine, which has said that state intervention must be exceptional and aimed, among other things, at correcting market failures and preserving free competition. From that perspective, a purely unilateral restraint by a firm with no dominant market power should normally fall outside antitrust. If the firm cannot control market conditions, exclude rivals in a meaningful way, or sustain super-competitive prices, then the economic conditions of monopoly are simply not there. That does not mean the conduct is harmless. It may reflect information asymmetry, adverse selection, or contractual dependence. But those are different problems. So we should not confuse dominance in a market with dominance in a contractual relationship. The United States largely supports that intuition, with one important nuance. There is no general antitrust prohibition of unilateral conduct by a non-dominant firm comparable to abuse of dominance. Under Section 2 of the Sherman Act, monopoly law is tied to monopoly power. Still, some vertical restraints can be challenged without a separate dominance finding. Section 3 of the Clayton Act reaches tying and exclusive dealing, and resale price maintenance is judged under Section 1 of the Sherman Act. In Ligon, the Supreme Court held that minimum resale price maintenance is analyzed under the rule of reason, not as per se illegal. Japan and Germany follow a different path. Japan prohibits abuse of superior bargaining position, and the Amazon Japan matter is a clear example. Germany, under Section 20 of the GWB, also reaches firms with relative or superior market power, including dependency situations, as shown in the Amazon Parity Clauses case. These are real prohibitions, but they address something different from monopoly. They deal with dependency, not classic market dominance. The United Kingdom is different again. Its modern Chapter 2 prohibition remains dominance-based. It once had a special regime against individual resale price maintenance under the Resale Prices Act 1976, but that statute was repealed. Today, cases like Korg are usually treated as agreements under Chapter 1, not as unilateral abuses by non-dominant firms. Now look at Colombia. We still have the broad language of Article 1 of Law 155 of 1959, and the three unilateral acts listed in Article 48 of Decree 2153 of 1992, misleading advertising, influencing another firm's pricing, and retaliatory refusal to deal. But two clarifications matter. First, excessive pricing in comparative law is normally pursued only when there is dominance. Second, Colombian practice has moved toward a more contextual approach. The OECD has described Colombian enforcement as effects-based, and the Fábrica de Licores de Antioquia case is a good example. The SIC closed the case because, although it found an advertising issue, it did not find restrictive effects in the market under Article 48. That suggests that, in practice, Article 48 requires at least some real market power, even if not full dominance. So my conclusion is simple. Antitrust should not prohibit unilateral restraints by non-dominant firms just because they are unilateral restraints. When the problem is monopoly, the threshold should be dominance, or at least genuine market power. If the real problem is dependence or asymmetry, the response may still be justified, but it belongs to a different logic. And I close with a special thanks to the distinguished practitioner Carlos Esquerra for his contributions to this episode.